Story 1. Self-centricity and entitlement are prevalent issues today. People often react strongly to minor inconveniences. It's important to remember that the world does not revolve around any one individual. Story 2. It's natural to be defensive about any small thing that can be perceived as criticism. Nobody believes in good faith anymore. People often assume the worst and react strongly. Story 3. People do not apologize anymore. I am middle-aged, and I notice a significant difference in interactions with people today. Whether it is a doctor or a customer service representative, no one ever says, "I made a mistake. I am sorry." A simple apology goes a long way, yet people, particularly young individuals, seem unwilling or unable to do so. Story 4. Shallowness. The idea that if you are not attractive to someone, they believe they do not have to treat you with respect. Story 5. Callousness. People create justifications for treating each other poorly. I once caught a friend kissing the guy I was seeing at the time, and in his words, "I would have done the same thing." He showed no remorse whatsoever. Story 6. The mentality of "if I had to suffer, you do too" applies to issues like student loan forgiveness and other matters. I can't believe some people want younger generations to face greater challenges simply because they faced hardships themselves. It's selfish and unkind. Story 7. I don't know the word for it, but the general attitude of "I don't owe anyone anything" can be problematic. While it is important to draw boundaries and advocate for yourself, it is also nice to do things for others, even if you don't necessarily owe it to them. Story 8. Willingness to say anything to get along, even if it is completely opposite from what people were saying 1 to 3 months ago. Stand tall. For example, the price of eggs is too high. 3 months later, when egg prices have skyrocketed under a different president, the response is, "No one cares about the price of eggs. That is just the market at work." Story 9. Trauma dumping instead of small talk. I'm here for your trauma dumping, but warm me up by talking about the weather and your cute jumper. Maybe a bit about your hobbies. Then unleash the stories. Story 10. Complaining about a loneliness epidemic while being the most insufferable and self-centered person who never puts themselves out for anyone. Story 11. I enjoy romanticizing the ordinary aspects of my life as well, but the concept of being the main character has become excessive. I see individuals who boldly engage in outrageous behavior in public for attention or social media views. The sense of entitlement associated with this is overwhelming. Perhaps we should occasionally disconnect from the online world. Story 12. The you do you, or self-care personality, was meant to improve mental health. However, some individuals took it too far and became inconsiderate or selfish in the name of self-care. Story 13. As a psychologist who has witnessed the rise of the internet, particularly social media, it seems that Facebook has reduced people's inhibitions and promoted narcissism. Story 14. Entitlement ranges far and wide. How dare they ask me to return to office work, even though it is the role I originally applied for. I nearly caused a car crash because I was honking my horn at someone who beeped at me. I can say whatever I want. I can type whatever I want. I can film members of the public because I disagree with them, and they should not become aggressive. I have applied for government assistance but am outraged that they asked me some questions. There is more, I am sure, and worse examples, but just for starters. I plan to liberate Canada and Greenland from tyranny and sulk when they resist my self-serving plans. Story 15. Believing you are entitled to have others do all the work in building and maintaining relationships, while disregarding any basic expectations for your own contribution, is an unreasonable burden that infringes on your responsibilities. Story 16. I am being honest. Honesty does not require cruelty. It is not an excuse to be unkind. Story 17. Adversarial individuals are becoming quite common, and it is concerning to witness. Many people are often inflexible and prideful in their thinking. Story 18. An inability to keep a conversation going means simply waiting for your turn to speak and then telling a story about yourself. It becomes an I conversation, as everyone's sentence begins with I. Story 19. People believing any obscure nonsense or other falsehoods that simply feel true to them without any fact-checking. I don't know what to call that. Maybe gullibility? Story 20. Bluntness. People make excuses, saying, "Oh, you know them. That's just how they are." But they can filter their thoughts. I don't say half the things on my mind because I think about them first. In my experience, blunt individuals are often the same people who do not appreciate it when their bluntness is returned. Story 21. Blaming everything on a self-diagnosed psychological disorder or deficiency and doing nothing to try to compensate for or alleviate the issue. Story 22. Whatever it is called when someone pretends or acts like they are interested in a certain thing or hobby solely to impress someone who is genuinely into that thing or hobby. Story 23. The entitlement, narcissism, and lack of respect for others create a sense of feeling like you are the only person on earth, leading to a belief that you are entitled to be loud in public. Story 24. Impatience. I am far from patient myself, but the sudden massive influx of attention-seeking short-form media has seriously affected people. I believe this contributes to a widespread degradation of relationships, a deprioritization of anything that takes time, and an increase in traffic accidents. Story 25. The popularity of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and neurodivergence is widespread. Everyone claims to have it. Here is my problem. I actually do have it and have seen a psychiatrist for years, along with participating in various therapies. I do not find it something to laugh about or use as an excuse for problematic behavior. It has not made my life easy. It can be a very serious issue. I rarely talk about it, but when someone casually claims they have it, I often respond, "Me too. Who do you see? Did you have to undergo any specific therapy?" Then I'm told it's self-diagnosed. It's frustrating. Story 26. Inability to cope with normal, everyday stressors includes making a phone call, asking a barista to remake an incorrect order, and telling someone you cannot or do not want to attend their event. Everything causes trauma. Story 27. Complacency is the unwillingness to seek more out of life. While this has always existed, it has recently surged as a source of pride. People have shifted the idea of needing less to be happy from material possessions to goals, opportunities, and ambitions. Story 28. Saying the word, like, excessively indicates an inability to formulate original thoughts. Please stop and start speaking like a literate person. Story 29. Lack of self-awareness, social ineptitude, narcissism, and entitlement involve making oneself appear better at the expense of others. Story 30. Therapy buzzword weaponizer. Gaslighting, boundaries, shaming, blame-shifting, narcissism, personal truth, validity, self-care. It's all so diluted and misused that I find it rare for people to use the terms correctly. Story 31. In the workplace, it can be passive aggression. People may behave poorly while maintaining a smile, but if you react emotionally, you are seen as the problem. Some individuals are aware of this and excel at provoking others, only to approach human resources when you attempt to address the issue directly. Story 32. Self-care is often equated to doing exactly what you want when you want to do it. Story 33. This person invaded my privacy, was mildly creepy, and slightly annoyed me. Proceeds to upload a private, out-of-context moment to potentially billions of people so they can agree about how awful this person is for mildly inconveniencing you in a way that makes the punishment much worse than the crime. Story 34. The extreme narcissistic attitudes and the insulting of others for no reason are concerning. I see screenshots of people on dating apps, and it seems horrible. Story 35. The obsessive need to document, upload, filter, and edit everything can detract from enjoying your meal or vacation. How can you truly appreciate the moment if you are constantly preoccupied with how it will be shared online? Story 36. Cynicism does not lead anywhere positive. You need to believe that things are possible. While something might not work, doing nothing certainly will not work. Story 37. I dislike how prevalent the belief in astrology has become and how it supposedly determines personality traits. It is insulting. Story 38. Being confrontational has become increasingly common over the decades, especially since the 1990s. People no longer seem interested in resolving conflicts. They are quick to anger and eager to confront each other. I attribute this change to the influence of certain television shows. Story 39. Severe selfishness, inability to empathize, and an inability to understand consequences that do not have an immediate effect. Story 40. Malignant ignorance involves ignoring all facts and being closed to new information, which leads to a false sense of confidence in being wildly incorrect. Story 41. Toxic positivity is a harmful aspect of our society. I dislike seeing people trapped in a sad pity-me bubble, but if I'm having a bad day, I am entitled to express myself, and so is everyone else in this world. I don't oppose people attempting to uplift others, but when someone is grieving because of a death, being told to only cry happy tears because they are in no pain doesn't help at all. Have some self-awareness and read the room. Someone has died. People are grieving because they must continue their lives without that person. They are stressed because they have to plan funerals and organize everything. Happiness and positivity do not take precedence in some situations. When someone loses their job, don't just say, "Look on the positive side." Sometimes, there simply isn't one. I now have to find money to support 4 people with a significant drop in income. I'm stressed, I feel awful, and I'm fully entitled to be upset because I have no job and only a week to find one. It's similar to telling someone that there are others worse off than you. If we weren't meant to feel, our bodies wouldn't create those chemical reactions in our brains. I really don't know what is worse. People who always find the negative in a situation or those who deny others the right to feel upset in a bad situation. Story 42. Getting upset over small things that don't matter. I don't care if what is a small thing to others is a big thing to you. Don't ruin everyone's time because of it. Story 43. It is somehow acceptable to be selfish, and that people should suffer and die because they are not wealthy. Story 44. Loss of basic manners. I went shopping yesterday. No fewer than 20 people either bumped into me or pushed past me, and only one person said, "Excuse me." Story 45. Adding to what someone else said, being confidently incorrect and not taking responsibility when proven wrong. Story 46. People often describe themselves in ways that would be better suited to observations made by others. I am street smart. I am really nice and kind. I am an empath. I am the kind of person who... No, that is for others to decide, not you. Story 47. The inability to have a conversation and admit when you're wrong. Recently, there was a discussion where someone argued that being logical about topics wasn't as valuable as being emotional. Their argument simplified to both sides without acknowledging that a logical argument is generally based on facts and that a logical person will, or should, concede when proven wrong. They contended that being an emotional arguer was equally valid and should not be regarded less favorably. I have concluded that most people are, in fact, emotional arguers. That's why, when proven wrong, they often double down. I believe humans are becoming less capable as automation increases, and a significant part of the issue is that we no longer need to think for ourselves. Many people struggle with this and do not want to confront it. At 41 years old, I often find myself frustrated explaining to friends why their viewpoints are outdated and problematic. They are good people, but we have been misled, either by others who have also been misguided or by harmful influences. Story 48. People believe they are psychologists diagnosing themselves and others. Apparently, everyone has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or, if they have done something bad to you, they must be a narcissist. Story 49. Negativity can become a personality trait, especially when it involves criticizing harmless things that others enjoy. If you don't like a certain type of music, decor, clothing, activity, or destination, that's perfectly fine, just don't engage with them. Unless you have useful information to share, such as a negative experience with food poisoning from a particular place, what is the value in attacking someone for their preferences? Story 50. People often want others to be overly nice to avoid conflict. While I understand the desire to not be rude, forcing everyone to act like they are perfect can hinder genuine conversation. This can lead to misunderstandings and emotional harm, as individuals may hide their true thoughts and feelings, presenting a facade instead of their authentic selves. Story 51. If you find someone who is being their authentic self cringy, It says more about you than it does about the person you are judging. Story 52. Assuming or adopting a condition to achieve victim status for attention or to excuse certain behaviors is becoming common. People may identify with various conditions, such as being on the autism spectrum, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, obsessive-compulsive disorder, being an introvert, or having social anxiety, and often base their entire identity around it. They frequently mention these conditions, inserting them into conversations and bringing them up quickly with new acquaintances, often exaggerating their significance. Story 53, Vocal fry. Interrogative inflection is the rising voice at the end of a statement that makes it seem like a question. Story 54, Shameless self-promotion. If it's natural, then you don't need to overstate your accomplishments. Quiet achievers are many in my country, Australia, making brashness unnecessary. However, when traveling to other countries, be loud and proud of where you came from. Story 55. People who talk excessively about themselves can be overwhelming, can feel like they are eroding your mental well-being, and it may leave you feeling frustrated. Story 56. Complacent complainers. Complacent may not be the best word, but I appreciate the alliteration. Essentially, these are individuals who continuously complain without making any effort to change the situation. Story 57. Helpfulness. I sometimes look like I need help, but I don't need or want it. I have already received enough assistance, and I would appreciate it if you did not interfere with me. Please respect my wishes. Story 58. I'm not sure what it's called exactly, but I refer to it as overactive confidence. It might be known as being cocky. There are many people who lack humility yet sometimes act as if they have it. I'm rambling, but I understand what I mean. Story 59. Conversation selfishness occurs when everything revolves around one person. There is a lack of interest in others, and when someone attempts to share their experiences, the response is often disinterest and disengagement. Story 60. I'm small, petite, and cute. Please date me. From women. I'm an assertive man who only seeks high-quality women. For men. Story 61. I don't know how to describe this really, but it feels like performative confidence. An acquaintance of mine will post a photo of herself and caption it, "I look great here." Which, yes, she does, but it feels a little cringeworthy to me. I prefer a bit of modesty. Then again, I am one of those people who, if I receive a compliment, will respond with a self-deprecating remark, so maybe that's just my personality type. Story 62. The uprising of aspiring Andrew Tate followers. I know it's not a specific trait, but more a collection of traits or personality types. Story 63. I don't know how to classify it as a trait, but it is likely something similar to an I know attitude or an overall lack of awareness and presence. Story 64. Whatever personality trait motivates someone to go on TikTok, perform dances, and post them online comes to mind, especially the Mormon TikTok moms. Story 65. Young people with the influencer mindset are often seen discussing their business-to-business sales and marketing startups that generate significant income at just 21 years old. Story 66. Nowadays, it seems as if everything is done for likes, followers, and attention. Real experiences are filtered, staged, and exaggerated to look good online. Instead of being authentic, many people live solely for perfect self-presentation. It would be nice if people placed more value on real life and genuine connections instead of constantly maintaining a facade. Story 67. Nonchalant this, nonchalant that. It's so boring when people lack passion for anything and shame others for genuinely caring about something. Story 68. The belief that your trauma or hardship, legitimate or otherwise, gives you the right to lash out at others is problematic. Anyone who dares to protest or respond to your abuse is often accused of lacking empathy for your struggles. This attitude can be unbearably arrogant and self-righteous, stripping away any compassion or sympathy for the person displaying it. In fact, I may be harsher on someone behaving this way than I would be if they admitted their wrongdoing and took responsibility. Story 69. People are seeking basic, verifiable information from strangers on social media sites. I am not referring to posts or individuals asking for recommendations for things to do in a city they are visiting. I mean people who do not know how to find information themselves and ask strangers questions like, "What state is Atlanta in?" At the very least, a person should know how to use a search engine to obtain basic information by the time they graduate from high school. Additionally, individuals who express anger about the failed education system in the United States and complain about it regularly can be quite frustrating. Story 70. The consumer mentality is evident in the ridiculous number of people who spend excessive amounts of money on trivial items just to brag about them. They lack personality and contribute nothing useful. Their conversations revolve solely around showing off. Story 71. People who do not take anything seriously and turn everything into a joke. Individuals who do not care about anything, along with anti-intellectualism. Story 72. I noticed a phenomenon often referred to as main character syndrome in the comments. I am not sure if this is the same concept, but it involves individuals allowing a small portion of their personality to define who they are entirely. Whether it's their sexual orientation, political beliefs, or hobbies, some people are unable to engage in a conversation without emphasizing this one aspect of themselves in every interaction. Story 73. I will assume we want to focus on traits we encounter daily. My top two, without question, are 1. People being unable to say, "I don't know anything about that and therefore don't need to have an opinion on it." No one benefits from you repeating what you read in a comment section or what your friend thinks he remembers from psychology class without doing research or critical thinking first. This will never help anyone. People being unwilling to be honest about how they feel, even when directly asked. Why am I trying to plan a date with you that you don't want to go on? After you flaked on me twice and I gave you the opportunity to bow out gracefully. Why do you insist you want to see me, then create excuses to avoid it? Story 74. The bad attitude online mindset has turned into mean-spirited nastiness and narcissism. Everyone suddenly has a mentality of, "I don't owe anybody anything." Story 75. When the conversation is lively and everyone is laughing, there is a pause and someone inevitably says, "We should start a podcast." Story 76. Being positive about every aspect of life, even when it's clear that one is not being truthful. "Oh, I'm feeling great today. Oh, I'm so happy about that. Yes. My new job has been stressful but also rewarding." When someone asks me, "How are you today?" I respond, so, and then they stop talking to me. Story 77. Oversharing. I'm tired of hearing about everyone's trauma, mental illness, physical ailments, and other personal issues in public spaces, whether in person or online. It's one thing to discuss these topics in appropriate settings, but it's another to have them shared unexpectedly. Please keep it between your doctor, therapist, family, friends, and yourself. Story 78. Self-care is essential, but it should not become an excuse to mistreat others. Story 79. The need to take pictures of everything you do and share it on social media is excessive. Most people do not care that much. Story 80. The belief that respect must be earned is misguided. Refusing to respect anyone who does not jump through hoops to earn it is unjust. Treat people with respect and gain their trust. Story 81. Passive aggressiveness is prevalent. People tend to avoid confrontation. Even when you ask for clarification, they often pretend not to understand. Story 82. Not sure what personality trait this falls under, but not caring about what you say and how it affects others, such as being extremely racist or sexist or making fun of people, shows a lack of concern for the consequences. Story 83. I don't know what the name of the trait is, but it's when someone tries to prove their point by bombarding you with incorrect or irrelevant information until you just give up. Vegetables are good for you. Them. That's stupid. If you ate a truckload of vegetables at once, you'd die. What? No one does that. Them. Yes, they do. I dreamed it once. Dreams aren't real. Them. Never mind. I don't have time to argue over common knowledge all day. Story 84. Kids these days syndrome. I am 27, and people I know have been making fun of baby boomers for the past 10 years for doing this, only to now do the exact same thing unironically. Story 85. using horoscope to justify being a poor person. It's not because you're a Gemini or Scorpio. You're just an inconsiderate person. Story 86. People who constantly apologize when they are not at fault should bring back the phrase, "that sucks." Story 87. Wow, that's a good point. Lying about your feelings or thoughts just because you are surrounded by people with different opinions is concerning. This may be linked to the rise in social anxiety due to the decline in real-life social connections and interactions. Story 88. Lately, there are too many charismatic world leaders attempting to take the world in the wrong direction. Story 89. I am very sick of people using "telling it like it is" or just being an honest person as an excuse to be rude. Story 90. Sanctimonious individuals who attach themselves to activist causes to justify bullying others in a socially acceptable manner. Story 91. Being unhealthy should not be treated as a trait. I am referring to the issue of fat shaming. I don't believe we should normalize it, as it is subjectively unhealthy. We should not hate people because they are overweight. Instead, we should support healthy lifestyles. Story 92. Meanness is a defining characteristic of the Make America Great Again movement and the modern Republican Party, but it's quite common regardless. It stems, I believe, from a mentality of scarcity, a deep belief that the only way there is enough for them is to push others down. I view such individuals as dangerous and believe they should be confronted. Story 93. I cannot stand toxic masculinity and the inflated male ego. I am a man, and growing up, I always viewed these personalities as bullies. Fragile men who need to make themselves feel superior by highlighting a lesser individual or showing off, often accompanied by a bit of homophobia and misogyny. Oh, how things never change. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.